So in this episode, we're going to take a look at replies, and to do that, we're going to need to change some of our structure for tweets. So we're going to need to add a root tweet ID to tweets and a parent ID. So if you're replying, you can reply to like several nested tweets deep, and the root one will just help us in looking up all of the tweets and the replies count and things like that. And also we will be able to query for the timeline and basically grab all tweets where root tweet ID is nil, just to get the ones that aren't a direct reply. So we'll go ahead and open up our terminal and we'll run binrails g migration, add root fields to tweets, and we'll say root tweet references and parent tweet references. And then I think we need to make some adjustments here to say what the foreign key is. And there we go, foreign key to table, and then we can give that a different table name. So we can say foreign key to table tweets for both of these. And we'll maybe add a third one while we're here for the retweets as well. So retweet, and we'll save that. And then we'll run our migrations here. Oh, and these obviously have to be nil. And that's generated those migrations now. Now we can go into our tweet and we can add those. So we can say belongs to root tweet, and we'll say optional true, and belongs to parent tweet optional true. We'll save that, and then we need to add class name here as well of tweet, so Rails knows what the model is. So we can save that, and now I just want to test this out structure wise. So if I go to this tweet here, let's pull that up in a console. So we'll say tweet equals tweet.last. We've got a tweet, and we can grab a user as well. So let's say user is user.first, and then we can create a new tweet. So we'll say tweet.create. We'll say root tweet is tweet, parent tweet is also tweet, user is user, and body is a reply. And we'll run that, and that looks like it worked. So now we can grab that last tweet, and you can use underscore here to get the result of whatever the last command you ran was. So last tweet dot root tweet, and that gives us the one that we actually replied to. Parent tweet should work as well, and it does. And then the only other thing that we really want to look at is we want to say has many replies, and those are going to be class name of tweet, and we're going to need foreign key of parent tweet, maybe parent tweet ID. So we'll save that, and then let's grab tweet.id here, 27. So let's look that back up again. Tweet equals tweet.find 27, and then tweet.replies gives us the tweet that's a reply. So that's perfect. The only other thing then that we want to do is the replies count. So in here, we can obviously count the replies, but we want to count anything where the root tweet. So maybe if we have replies and we'll say has many nested replies maybe. And so that's going to give us every single tweet, even if it's not a direct reply. So these are direct replies and these are all replies essentially. So maybe we can actually name it like that, all replies and direct replies, and hit save. Then we're counting all replies.count in here. So then let's reload, grab that tweet again, and we can say tweet.replies count, and we should get 1, and we do. So now that we have the database structure set up, the next thing we need to do is allow tweets to be clicked on. So we have our tweets controller, but we don't have a show action yet. So if we go to our routes, we've got resource tweets. So the routes are set up, and if we go down to views and tweets, we have show, but it doesn't actually do anything. So the first thing we'll do is make our tweets clickable. So basically, if you click on the reply button itself, we should take you into the tweet and jump you down to the reply form. Other than that, clicking on the background of a tweet should also take you to that. So if you click the username or the avatar, it takes you to that user. But if you click anywhere else, really, we should be taking you to the tweet. So let's go to our tweet component, and where we have our tweet body here, we can make that a link. So let's just make it a link here. And we'll just say link to tweet, add the class name, and we'll probably need to add block in there as well, just to make sure it is display block, and then add our end block in here. So if we reload this, we now see we can click and actually get to the tweet itself. So if we click on this one, you'll see the URL tweets27, which is fine. We just need to load up the view of that tweet. So we want to load up the tweet component essentially, then have a form for replies, and then load any of the direct replies to that tweet. So we'll go back to our tweets controller, and then we can add a before action here of set tweet, and we'll say only show for now. So we can go down to the bottom, have our set tweet, which will just take at tweet equals tweet.find params ID. Then we can go to our view, so we can say app views tweets show, and we can load in the same way as we do an index where we render the tweets. Here we go here, so we want to render this partial. This blinks in if it's new and just come into the page, and this is just the normal tweet. So I think maybe what we'll do is just grab the normal one for now, and we can do this for any new content coming in. So if you reply to a tweet, we can make the blink action work. So we'll come in here and just paste this in, get rid of this wrapper div, and we don't really need a border top. We actually want a border bottom probably, and so we'll make that border bottom, padding 4, and tweet should be at tweet. So if we reload now, our tweet has loaded in. Clicking it again, as I say, we could remove that link, but it's probably fine for now. It just keeps bringing us to the same page anyway. The next thing then is our replies component. So in the last episode, we created a like component. In this one, we'll go ahead and generate a component called replies, which will give us replies component here. Like component, I think, took a tweet. We'll do the same thing. So go to replies component, paste that in, and we had likes count, so we'll have replies count. Like that. Hit save. Now we can go to this template. So I think where we have our actual tweet component and we have our like component here, we'll create replies component like that, and just put it in here and grab the current code for the replies and paste that in. And then we can change this number to just be replies count. And now you can see there's one reply that we created in the console, so that number is now correct. We also want to make that a link, and just make it a link to this tweet, and maybe add on an anchor at the end to say jump down to the replies form. So what we can do here is, instead of a span, we can make this a link. So we'll say link to, and we'll make it to the tweet, and then we can say class, copy this across, and the same with title, we'll make that replies, and then just go in like this and reload. So now when we click that, so if we go back to the home page, clicking on that will bring us to the tweet, which is what we want. So now we want to loop over, we want to put a form in for replies, and we want to loop over the direct replies. So we'll come into the show view, and we can say at tweet dot direct replies dot each do, and we'll say reply and then we can actually, I think what we can do here is just say render direct replies like that and reload, and that now works. And then we just need to slot the form in between those. So in our profile view, so we have profiles show, where we render the tweets form. We can put this in here, and we want to render the tweet form basically if user signed in. And let's reload. And that works fine. So what do you want to say? And then basically we want to change this text. So in the tweets form, we want to be able to pass in some stuff here. So we want to be able to pass in a field for f.hidden, and we want it to be root tweet ID. And that is only going to be passed in if there is one. So we'll say local assigns root tweet ID, and we'll just add an if, and we'll say f.present, and we'll do the same for parent tweet ID. And then what we can do here is say local assigns dot fetch, and we'll say button title or tweet. And then we can go back to our show view here and we can pass that in. So we can say render tweets form, and we'll make that partial here. And then we can pass locals, and we can pass in here then root tweet ID will be at tweet.root tweet ID, or tweet.id. And then the same goes for parent tweet ID, although it's always tweet.id. And the reason for calling this is that if the tweet's nested, it's already going to have a root tweet ID, so we want to go right to the top of that chain and make sure we're always referencing the correct root. So we've got parent tweet ID, and then we have button title. And there we'll have reply instead of tweet. So if we reload, we get an error, undefined method local assigns, and that's because I'm spelling it with one S when it has two everywhere. And we'll reload. F.hidden is not a thing, so I think that's hidden field. And I think what we need to do here is call this value. And reload. No, that works. So now see our form has a reply button. And if we go in and look at the hidden fields, so you can see we've got root tweet ID 27, parent tweet ID 27. And so if we type in here and hit reply, it's going to just create a brand new tweet because we're not doing anything with those in our controller. So we need to go to our tweets controller, go down to tweet params, and we want to permit root tweet ID, parent tweet ID as params, and hit save. So now when we're creating our tweet, it's going to take those into account. So if I go here and say another reply, hit reply, and why is that happening? So I have just switched over to Chrome here. There seems to be a problem in Safari with using Rails import maps. So we'll maybe have to switch the project over to ESBuild for the JavaScript. I'm not sure, I'll need to debug that further, but for now everything still works in Chrome, so we'll just use Chrome and keep going on with what we're doing. So we can now go to our form and hit another reply, ... hit reply, and that loads, but we don't have our div wrapped around these, so it's not getting inserted. But if we reload the page, that is showing up. So we'll go in and take a look at our show view, and then also our index view for tweets. We have div ID tweets, and I think the same on profiles. If we go to show div ID tweets, so we need to wrap that around our direct replies here. And once we do that, if we go back, reload, and we'll just say reload, and now you can see it gets inserted, and it also gets the nice blink content thing, so you can quite easily see that something's been inserted. So that's good. We can obviously see there's no direct replies for these. If we click into this one, hit reply, this isn't updated, so we'll need to take a look at that as well. But if we go back here, all these are showing up on the index, and we can see we've got 5 replies total to this tweet, which is right. We want to clear this up. So if we open up our tweet model, and then we'll add a scope here for root tweets, and then we'll say where root tweet ID is nil, and then save that. And then if we go back to controllers and tweets controller, we can say tweet dot root tweets dot ordered, and then reload here. And now we don't get all of those nested replies coming in, we just get the actual tweets themselves. Same thing if we click Jack Reacher, we obviously get all his tweets. We'll get replies in here too, which is maybe okay for now, but we could change that to root as well if we only wanted to see Jack's actual tweets and not replies. So I think on Twitter itself, you'll be able to click on someone's profile, you'll see tweets, and then there's a tab for replies. So we'll maybe do that. So if we go to Profiles Controller, then we can grab tweets and again root tweets. So we'll only get those. So if I find a tweet from my profile, click on it, all of those replies aren't listed. I'm not going to go ahead and add the tabs in for tweets and replies. That should be fairly straightforward. So we'll go back to the home page, click in here. We've got all of these tweets. I think though some of them are replies. Let's see. So if we click on this tweet, and then check out our form. So we've got root tweet ID is 27, which is fine, and then parent tweet ID is 31. So we'll say parent 31, hit reply. That comes in here. Go back and go back into this tweet. This number is now 6, which is good. Click in, and yeah, we don't get the parent coming through there. Although also we're not getting the reply counter in here. So if we come back and go to tweet, so our replies count is all replies.count, and that's basically where they're all the root tweet. So I think what we need to do in here is if root tweet ID is nil, then we want all replies, else we want direct replies.count, and then reload. So now you can see we've got 2 replies to this tweet. Click through, there's your 2, and go back up here. You've obviously got 6 replies total to this one.